Good morning to all of you, and thanks for being part of Envisioning to 2020. I want to thank Manaz, who has been truly a dear friend of mine, a great inspiration to me. We've known each other now going on 2 decades, working in this arena. And what the Women's Learning Partnership has been able to do to give us guideposts wherever we are in terms of what the future could hold if we tap the potential of women is just an extraordinary, powerful organization that is leading the way in ways that are particularly important for these times. So happy birthday to WLP and Manaz, many, many, many more years to come in doing this good work. I was pleased that I could work my crazy schedule with all the UN activities to be here, because I really wanted to be here, not just because I so admire the work of WLP, but because so many of the great women of the Global South associated with this work are people who are true heroines for our times. They are women leading change. They are women who are showing us the way. They are a force for human rights and democratic values, and they are providing us the lessons that we need to learn if we're going to create the kind of world all of us want to see. So I want to thank all of them. I want to say hello to Thoraya Obaid, who's done such an extraordinary job leading UNFPA, and so many of my other friends from Brazil and Jordan and places in between. As Manaz noted, and as I alluded to, we are gathering here in New York, many, actually thousands from around the world, for the Commission on the Status of Women. And this year, that annual meeting at the United Nations coincides with the 15th anniversary of the Fourth World UN Conference on Women that took place in Beijing. And it is something that those of us who were there remember so well. It was an extraordinary coming together, but more than that, it was an extraordinary time to chart a new future. And one of the outcomes of that is WLP, as Manaz just said. And so much has come out of that. And I remember, because at the time I was working for now Secretary Hillary Clinton, then the First Lady of the United States, and she, in an historic address to the gathering, said that I believe we are on the eve of a new millennium, a time to break the silence. It is time for us to say here in Beijing and the world to hear that it is no longer acceptable to discuss women's rights as separate from human rights. And she went on to present a litany of the kind of violence you have gathered to focus on and to eliminate once and for all from our world. She talked about girls who are denied food or drowned or suffocated merely because they are born girls, about the violations that occur when women and girls are sold into human trafficking like commodities, how women are raped in their own communities or subjected to it as a tactic of war, about the violations that occur worldwide among women, the violence that they are subjected to in their own homes. And she said, after going through this litany that touched so many people in that great hall that day because they were dealing with these very issues, and these issues were raised up for all to recognize. And she culminated that horrible litany and said, women's rights are human rights, and human rights are women's rights. Beijing sparked a movement. You are part of that movement still. It gave us a call to action that women have a right to education, to health care, to jobs, to credit, to freedom from violence, the opportunity to enjoy equal rights, and to participate fully in the political and economic lives of their countries. As we mark this anniversary, it is a time to assess our progress, to develop new strategies, to address the persistent obstacles that still hold back the advancement of women and girls in so much of the world. That is why you are here gathered, to mobilize for women's rights. Because it remains a simple fact that no country can get ahead if half of its citizens are left behind. And today there is a growing body of research, voluminous data that has been accumulated long from the days when we were all gathered in Beijing. And that research from the UN or the World Bank, from corporations, from think tanks, from institutions, from NGOs, shows that there is a favorable correlation between investments in women and poverty alleviation, economic growth, and a country's general prosperity. Unfortunately, the potential that women and girls represent to the future of our world is still largely untapped. I believe that we can no longer relegate women's issues, put them in quotation marks, women's issues, as just that. Some special category, some nice place. Yes, very important issues, but perhaps not always important enough when one looks at all of the challenges our world confronts. But the truth of the matter is, these are the very hard power issues. These are the issues, if addressed, that will help us chart that future that we all want to see in our world. And these are the issues that really are the hardest issues in some ways to solve. And we cannot get there without unleashing the power that half the world's population represents. Secretary Clinton recently noted that until women around the world are accorded their rights and afforded opportunities for education, health care, gainful employment, and so much more, global progress and prosperity will have its own glass ceiling. I want to touch this morning on just a few of the major areas of the Beijing Platform for Action, because it is our unfinished agenda. These concerns merit our attention, as WLP is fully giving them. They deserve our commitment of greater political will, and they really need to guide policy and budgetary priorities for our governments. Since Beijing, so many laws have been adopted, but they need to be enforced and fully implemented to make the kind of progress we all want to see. So first, the right to an education. I think all of you know that educating girls is the most effective development investment any country can make, that the benefits to girls and their families are well documented, from better health and nutrition to delayed marriage and enhanced employment opportunities. Studies show that an extra year of education increases a girl's income by 10 to 20% and is a very important step for her breaking out of the cycle of poverty. Today, of the approximately 13 million illiterate young people around the world, 63% are female.